We told you about that breaking news involving Leslie Merritt Jr. just coming into the ABC 15 newsroom that the state is moving to drop the charges against him. And we're joined by Hector Diaz on the phone, who has been with us all along following this case. And Hector, this is a pretty big development here. Is he off the hook entirely?
You know, and that's a great question. The motion, what's telling is that the motion was filed, and it's a motion to dismiss without prejudice. And what that means technically is that the county could refile if somehow the evidence was to change or something. But I'll tell you that the reality is, given that most recent, what we believe is the test on the ballistics, very doubtful. Very doubtful. I believe the case is over.
It's completely over. Like he would be a free man, able to remove his ankle bracelet and all of those things?
Absolutely. What I expect next week is that the court will probably set a very brief hearing on the motion to dismiss. They will discuss the motion. Then the court technically has to grant the motion to dismiss, which is really a technicality. And I expect the ankle bracelet to be removed and all other conditions. And also, let's not forget, the parties were essentially imposed a gag order. And so I expect that gag order to be lifted, and that may be the end of this case.
Aside from that gag order being lifted, he also missed out on life events when he was in jail for those months. He missed out on his baby's first birthday. Would there be any sort of recourse here for him?
Well, you know, and that's really for his counsel, who I understand are in the process or may have already filed a notice of claim under Arizona law. That's really the beginning of a potential lawsuit, and that's giving notice to the government essentially that we intend to file a lawsuit, and here's our demand. I think the demand was $10 million, and they believe that that's what's merited to basically make amends for the time that he lost while being in jail.
The time that he lost, and also the public perception. I mean, when this went on, the governor released a tweet that had a lot of people asking a lot of questions and raising eyebrows. What other sort of things can he go after here as far as his reputation?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, and I think that's probably going to be part of his lawsuit, which is, you know, the bell has been rung, the stigma of, you know, he was called the I-10 shooter. I mean, all of the, you know, every story that ran had his picture up, and so I expect his defense team, once that gag order is lifted, to likely do some kind of rehabilitation on his image to allow him to be interviewed, allow him to make some statements, hoping that they can address this stigma. But the reality is that's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult because while it is, you know, you're going to have a motion to dismiss, some people may say, well, you know, is it still possible he could have been involved? They just couldn't prove it. And so it is essentially the case is over. And that's what's important for Mr. Merritt, and you know, it's the start of getting his life back, essentially.
Hector, you've had a long history in your career here. Have you ever seen a case similar to this? Does this bring up anything to mind that matches this particular case?
You know, they're going to write books about this and what happened. I really do expect that there's going to be, it's very unusual. Very unusual. I mean, starting from the governor issuing a tweet, we got him, to the, you know, obviously the very, very important investigation that the Department of Public Safety handled in really trying to protect the public and trying to quash any kind of fear that, hey, get somebody on the loose. So all of a sudden now, you know, this individual who we all identified as being the I-10 shooter, now walking out of jail and having the charges dismissed. So it has been a roller coaster. I can't say that I've seen anything like this in my years of practicing criminal defense.
Not to mention, if he is not the guy or gal, that person's still out there. And our freeways could potentially still be in danger. As we've seen, the shootings were still happening after he went into jail.
You know, I expect the Department of Public Safety to probably issue a comment. They're probably going to issue some kind of a statement indicating here's where we're at with this investigation. Are they going to continue to look? Have there been have there been other shootings?
Right.
And we've heard stories. I mean, we've heard stories. I think one of your reporters had asked Bill Montgomery if there have been subsequent shootings, and I think he answered in the affirmative. So there's still this issue out there, and I do expect law enforcement to issue some kind of comment on whether or not they're looking into this further and what they're going to do about it.